Big talking point on the Amaze is that India's most affordable car with ADAS, Honda City, it now sells less than 1,000 cars a month. It is more playful. It's like this puppy dog that's constantly active and wants to do something.
Okay.
The Rolls-Royce Ghost weighs 2490 kilos.
Oh shit.
The M5 weighs 2500 kilos.
Insane.
That's heavy as...
Yeah.
Government is putting up roads all over, so the infrastructure outside the cities is getting better. In the cities, hey Bhagwan.
I can't open my door because the door is too close to the wall of the elevator and nobody's opening the door on the other side. So I'm stuck in the elevator at the bottom over here. I start honking. I'm happy to pay for the petrol and avoid all of this.
Week 49 of 2024. This is the Evo India podcast. I'm Sirish Chandran, editor at Evo India.
And I'm Aatish Mishra, assistant editor at Evo India. And we're talking our week in cars. And we're starting with BMW M Town.
Yep, this has been a fun week at the BIC. But before that, Aatish, how many weeks in a year?
52, right?
Yep, 52. And we got 3 more weeks to go in the year, 3 more podcasts in the year.
Bloody hell, the year has really flown by.
Yeah, the year has flown by. As they say, time flies when you're having fun. So we've been having a lot of fun this year and we've been consistent with our podcast, at least for the past month. We've been doing it consistently. And the theme, we're sticking to that, our week in cars.
Yeah.
The cars and occasionally the bikes that we've ridden in the week. We don't ride as much as we should, but now we're coming to award season, IMOT, they're all coming up. So we will be getting a lot of driving and riding in. And before the year is out, or maybe one of the first podcasts of 2025, we're going to talk about our favorite cars of the year.
Definitely.
But let's not get sidetracked. Let's dive into week 49 of 2024.
So Sirish, just tell me straight off the bat, what is BMW M Town?
Okay. Before that, we should also give a list of what all we're going to be talking about. So we're talking about BMW M Town.
Yeah.
We're talking about Jag.
the Jag
Type 00 concept.
Yeah.
What else are we talking about?
We're going to be talking about the A6 e-tron. The
A6
embargo
e-tron
has finally lifted. So
I think 3 podcasts we've been hinting at A6 e-tron and then, oh no, I can't say it because embargo.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the A6 e-tron.
And we will talk about... I took a road trip in the Nexon EV, which is my long-termer.
Lovely.
To Mumbai and back.
Ranting or positive?
Mostly ranting.
Okay.
But...
so what is Aatish going to be ranting about? That's going to come later on in the podcast. Before that, we're going to start with BMW M Town.
And the Honda Amaze.
And the Honda Amaze.
Yeah.
We haven't driven it. Aatish is going to be driving it in Goa next week, but I went to Delhi to have a look at it.
Yeah.
So I can talk to you about first impressions on the Amaze. And I can tell you, concept to reality. If you're watching this on YouTube, we've got images of the concept playing out right now. And now we have images of the actual car.
Yeah.
Lots of difference.
Actually, let's just get straight into the Amaze first. Let's finish it off quickly.
Okay.
You've seen the car.
Yep.
What's it like? I've seen the memes. That's all I've seen.
So it's got the front end of the SUV, the Elevate.
Yeah.
So that's Honda's new design language. The concept gives a hint at what we would have expected. The concept looked great stance, big wheels, wide, looked like a Civic. The Amaze doesn't look anything like a Civic. Obviously, but also to go with the class.
Correct.
What more do you want, right? The big talking point on the Amaze is that India's most affordable car with ADAS.
Yeah.
9.610 lakh rupees.
I was
and
surprised
you get ADAS.
to see that. Genuinely.
And that just shows how technology is getting democratized.
Completely.
I think 2 years ago, ADAS was only on Mercs and expensive luxury cars.
Yeah.
Then the XUV 700 came. I think XUV 700, of course, came 2 years ago, 3 years ago, only
3 years
Mercs.
ago.
Then 700 came. It brought it to kind of the premium mass market. And now 9.69 lakhs, you get ADAS.
Crazy.
That's crazy. So it's really democratizing safety, and also with the desire we saw, now even affordable cars are coming with full 5-star crash ratings, which is great. So all of this howling that we've been doing about safety, a lot of people have really gone at us saying that, no, hang on, this is getting overboard. But it's paid dividends now.
Yeah.
You're getting ADAS, you're getting, of course, Honda hasn't talked about their crash ratings, but I think the Amaze did get, 4 stars in the Asian NCAP, or maybe 5 stars. But it's not a poorly rated car in the crash ratings. Honda doesn't make poor cars, period. Whether it is on ride, handling, space, performance, efficiency. They make 10-star rated cars.
Yeah.
Though Honda's ARI claimed figures are actually lower than the Desire's ARI claimed figures.
That's because the Desire's now got that new 3-cylinder.
Yes, the Desire's got the 3-cylinder. Honda still sticking with the 4-cylinder engine.
And a CVT.
Yeah. So the powertrain smoothness that you're going to get, as you will experience when you drive it in Goa, you're going to get superior powertrain refinement.
100%.
The space inside is good. Now, the width, the length, the wheelbase, all of that remains unchanged. But they've done some jiggery pokery with the shape of the seats, the shape of the door pads. So they're saying that the shoulder room has increased by some 13 millimeters. The rear leg room has increased by 5-10 millimeters. Headroom has increased. So this is all the interior parts that has been reprofiled to get a little bit more space. But if you recall, the Amaze always had a lot of space inside. For a sub 4 meter vehicle, I think it's got 3995 mm or 3996 mm.
3995.
Yeah, but under 4 meters, and you get a fair amount of space inside that. The Amaze also is actually quite decent to drive.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's like a sporty car.
No, but for the segment and for what you're getting.
Yeah, and that Ivy Tech loves to rev.
Yeah.
You enjoy it when you rev that engine. So all in all, keen pricing, Honda badge value. Somebody yesterday asked me about CNG. I asked the Honda guy. So they said that CNG is available as a dealer fitment.
Okay.
I don't know why it's not given as a factory fitment. I think that hasn't passed Honda's really stringent quality control measures. So that's why, considering that I think 60% of the segment is CNG. Obviously because there are no diesels also.
Yeah.
So that's why they're giving it as a factory, as a dealer fitted option with warranty and also on the CVT. So you can get a
CNG CVT.
You can get a CNG CVT, and Honda also claims slightly bigger boot space. So again, inside something they must have done some reprofiling. So they got some 13 liters or 35 liters or something. They got slightly more boot space than before.
Right.
So overall, that segment, which wasn't really in the news, now has got two new players. The
but
Desire
surprising,
and the Amaze.
it wasn't in the news because it's just, I think for us, not the most enthusiastic segment. But that's the only sedan segment that sells actually.
Yeah. So if you know, the Honda City, it now sells less than 1,000 cars a month.
That segment
it's 900 or 950. The Virtus is selling more than the Amaze. That's also down to the discounts that are being offering. I think some 2.5 lakhs. Same with the Slavia, some 2.5 lakhs of discounts. So the Honda City, and Honda is not cutting prices in the same way that Volkswagen and Skoda are. So the City just can't compete.
Right. And it's such a nice car.
Yeah, and it's down to 900, 950 units, which is
a pity. And on the other hand, the Desire is record-breaking in terms of sales every month.
Yeah. Also, now with the new Desire, we got to see. But Desires, when do you experience a Desire?
I mean, usually as a taxi.
Yeah.
So, but still, I mean, it is selling. And
And also, the thing is with the taxi segment, people buy cabs that last.
Yeah.
They don't buy vehicles that fall apart, because that is every minute the car is not running is a minute
loss.
That is not earning money for them.
Correct.
World over, Toyotas, the Corolla is the default cab in Southeast Asia. That doesn't reduce the brand value of the Corolla. The E-Class is the default cab in Germany. You go to any airport in Germany and you have fleets of those horribly beige E-Classes outside. But that's because they last for like 5-10 lakh kilometers without a problem. So a cab is actually a sign of like
very
a well-built,
high reliability.
Innovas.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want a premium cab, it's an Innova. Correct. And nowadays the High Cross.
Yes.
Recently in Bombay, I got a High Rider cab.
Oh, really?
CVT. So basically the hybrid. And that same day, the day before, in Pune, I got a High Rider cab, but in Pune, it was the manual. So the non-hybrid. But in Bombay, it was the hybrid.
Yeah.
But those were High Riders.
Insane.
Not Grand Vitaras, Toyota High Riders.
Yeah.
So that's also now there in the cab market.
Interesting.
Yeah, okay. So now these are cars that we are not driving.
Yeah.
We haven't driven it. We are talking about the cars that we are driving.
Correct. Yeah.
So
BMW M Town.
BMW M Town. Now, M Town is an event for BMW M customers, prospects, and then they also squeeze in a day for the media.
Lucky you.
Fans of BMW, fans of BMW M, who aren't, right? We are like dyed-in-the-wool BMW fans.
Absolutely.
So at the BIC, we had the M2, we had the M4 competition, we had the M5, the new M5, and a lot to talk about the M5.
Yes, that was why you were there, in fact.
Yep.
That was the primary reason.
Okay, who's going to say no to drive an M4 at the
Correct.
track.
But yeah, the pretext was first drive.
The car that we hadn't driven, hadn't experienced, hadn't even seen was the M5. We also had the Z4 and the M340i, Z4. Let's pronounce it properly. Okay, so now the big talking point with the M5, weight, 2.5 tons.
Yes. Can you feel it?
2.5 tons is Rolls-Royce Ghost weight.
Wow.
The Rolls-Royce Ghost weighs 2490 kilos.
Oh shit.
The M5 weighs 2500 kilos.
Insane.
That's heavy as...
Yeah.
It's really heavy. Now, can you feel it? And the honest answer is no. Okay, it is big and it is like it's a sizable machine. But modern technology has progressed so much with active rear wheel steer. So that aids agility, the maneuverability, the responses of the engine. So you have 577 bhp from the V8 twin turbo.
Yeah, that's a big talking point.
Not a downsized motor. Same 4.4 liter twin turbo V8 engine. So a massive power plant.
But now the addition is a lot of hybrid tech.
Yes. So 195 bhp from the e-motors, which also weigh around 500 kilos because of the batteries. So total system output 717 bhp. But because the weight has gone up so much, the power to weight ratio has actually reduced compared to the M5 competition.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Power to weight ratio hasn't gone up. It has reduced, and the 0 to 100 time has also become slower than the earlier M5 competition. Not the M5, but the M5 competition.
Yes.
So to 0 to 100.
Yeah.
Okay. So 3.5 seconds to 100, 10.9 seconds to 200. On the track, it moves.
Yeah.
It really moves. So we had an XM as the pace car, and I feel sorry for that poor chap.
Why?
No matter how hard you drive those, and you could see those guys were pushing. Every braking zone, the lights would start flashing, which means you are ABS braking. That means you're like on the brakes. You could see it in the corners, squiggling and squirming. And we were like, oh, abhi chal yaar, chalo. Because the M5, it deploys that power so instantly, what with that electric responses. So in a twin turbo, you always, no matter how quickly the turbo spool, we always have that slight delay before the motor really starts thumping out the torque. Okay. But here, with that electric response, it's like, fatak se.
So, question, XM is also hybrid.
XM is also hybrid, but it's like
it's a Hathi.
Correct, yeah. It's a 5.5 bedroom penthouse.
That was the problem.
Yeah, this was a 3.5 bedroom penthouse. But this is a 3.5 bedroom penthouse that doesn't feel as vast. The turn-in, I think because of that rear wheel steer, the first couple of corners, you actually turn in too much and you take a far bigger chunk of the curbs, both on the entry as well as on the exit. I was driving it in the 4-wheel drive sport mode, so that's the in-between mode with a little bit more leeway on the traction control.
Yes.
I forgot to turn it back to full ESP on. Next guy sat into it. At C3, pachak, spun. I was behind and he was facing me.
Oh shit.
So the thing is that in that 4-wheel drive sport mode, the ESP does cut in.
Yeah.
But on slower corners, when you slam the throttle, when 1000 Newton meters is deployed, this has got 4-wheel drive. But 1000 Newton meters of torque, and if you don't put in some sort of steering correction, you can spin the thing around. This is a mighty powerful machine.
So it's still going to have typical M5 rear biased characteristics.
Yes, and yes. It does feel rear driven. It has drift mode. Obviously, we were not allowed to touch all of that. We were not allowed to put it into 4-wheel drive sport also. But me being me, well, you can have a lot of fun. You can shred those tires. If you have a tire company, you can shred tires all day. You can have a lot of fun. It also sounds great, but as we know, with all these BMW M's, all the sounds are piped in. We did put out a couple of reels of the exhaust sounds on the outside, and by the end of it, it became ridiculous. It became like IBW, where all the cars around were going bam, bam, boom, boom. It became quite stupid. But it sounds okay on the outside. Inside, it sounds nice because it's also tuned, the sound. But overall, the thing is fast. But ask me for what was my most impressive takeaway.
What was your most impressive takeaway?
That M2 is freaking awesome.
It's nuts, no?
It's nuts. In the corners, it can keep up. If you're a good driver in the M2, you can keep up with an M5.
Right.
On the back straight, the M5 pulls.
Yes.
But it opens a gap very gradually. It's not like, gaya.
It's so much smaller and lighter, right?
Yeah, it's just a gradual opening up of the gap. On the brakes, the M2 is really planted.
Yeah.
It is more playful. It's like this puppy dog that's constantly active and wants to do something.
Correct.
The ESP is constantly working to keep you in check. There is no getting away from its rear bias. Obviously, it's not four-wheel drive either.
Were you driving the manual?
No, because BMW, and rightfully, they said that today people don't know how to drive manuals. And 4 days at the track,
That's
non-stop running.
Recipe for a gone clutch.
Minimum gone clutch. At the very least, a gone clutch. So it was the automatic. But obviously, see, the automatic is faster than the manual.
Correct, true.
Yeah. Of course, the manual is more involving and more engaging.
Yeah.
But that M2 was...
No, it's a lovely car. I remember when the M2 came out and I had done the first drive, the narrative around the M2 was, oh no, it's become fat. You know, it's put on weight compared to the older one. And it had, because it's now based on that M4 or whatever, you know. But you put it into the context of the M5, and I think it's what, 900 or 1000 kgs lighter. Or maybe 800 kgs lighter, but it's a significant chunk lighter.
It's like a featherweight boxer.
Yeah, and lightness. I mean, everyone says add lightness, you know.
Definitely. You don't need a V8 engine. The 6 cylinders enough.
Correct.
It's really nice.
It's a beautiful engine also, you know. It's a lovely engine. It likes to rev.
Yes.
It's strong. It's powerful.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
It's got that eagerness. And it also has a traditional ICE delivery of power.
Yes.
Not that super instant delivery like these hybrids.
Some character.
Yeah. So that little bit, that momentary wait before everything explodes, that just adds to the emotional side of it.
Correct.
It makes you feel like you're doing some work. With the M5, it doesn't seem like you're doing any work.
Correct.
Because it's all there.
Yeah.
And I think the M5 will work really well on the road also. It's not a track car, but the M2 is great on track. It's great on road. We've driven it on the road.
Yeah. It's fabulous.
That said, I should also point out that the M4 competition on the track was the best of everything.
Yeah, it's probably honed for that a little more.
It's got everything. It's sorted. Like the engine, it revs even better. It feels harder. More obviously, it is the competition also.
Correct.
So it has a little bit more hardcore elements on it. That was the last car that I drove, and I was chasing that XM, and that XM. Poor fellow. Poor fellow in that XM.
My takeaway from driving that M2, honestly, on the road, it felt like a big muscle car, which also handles. Because it has that broad-chested power, but then it's a BMW, so it will turn.
Yes.
You know? So,
it's lovely. Only thing, I still can't get over that styling. Why do they have to do... Why do they make it like that?
You know, the best solution to all these problems is to sit inside it so you don't have to look at it.
Yeah, I think so. It's just unnecessarily... There's no angle which is okay.
Pretty.
Yeah, I wouldn't say pretty also, just okay. Every angle has got something ada teda going on.
There are some flattering angles. I remember I sort of kind of liked some stuff. I like the flared arches. You know, the arches come out like these box arches, which are quite cool. They remind me of the Quattro S1 and all of those boxy arches. But yeah, the face and the tail.
I just don't get it. The M4, that big kidneys have grown on me. The i7 has grown on me. The XM will never grow on me. Yeah, that is just a monstrosity.
Absolutely.
I don't know why you'd buy that.
And you know what messes with my head the most is that BMW compares the XM to the M1. Look at that M1.
Yeah, and because they've got the roundels on the window at the back and
M-developed car or whatever. But like, how do you even, like, what kind of connection is that? There's no connection.
And obviously for good reason it's not selling anywhere. So I think this is going to be the first and the last XM.
Yeah.
So anyway, M Town, lots of fun. We also had the i5 on the autocross track, and they did lay out a very good autocross track. Unlike the usual autocrosses, which are very tight, and sometimes you have the slalom, which is just too tight.
Yeah.
This one was nice and open, so you could actually get up to speed, let the tail hang a bit. And that i5, we drove it.
Yeah.
We love it. There is a video out now on the Evo India channel. We'll put the link up somewhere over here, so you can watch that. Great fun. And on this autocross track, it was really good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed driving it over there. I didn't drive it the lap in the way I should have. 2 corners, I went in too hot and slowed down too much. Yet I was the fastest. I got a nice heavy glass memento from that.
Trophy.
trophy.
Spoils of war.
Yeah. But the i5, very nice.
No, it's a lovely car.
A true 5 Series.
Correct.
Unlike the long wheelbase, which is not really. We did a podcast also with Vikram Pava, president of BMW Group in India. I did mention this to him. He pushed back, saying that no, we drove it at the track and we think. So
the 5 Series?
The 5 Series.
Right.
But I said that's why there are journalists like us, because we also have to push back against your narrative.
Yes.
That the 5 Series is no 5 Series from the past. But the i5 definitely is.
100%.
The M5, oh man. And we've got a video also coming up on the M5. And I said that in normal course of things, we should just be howling about the weight. But because the price is just 4 lakh rupees more than the C63,
that's what I was coming to next.
There's nothing to complain about. You can add 100 kilos more and we'll be happy. It can feel a little heavier also, we'll be happy.
Yeah.
The C63 obviously goes up against the M4.
True.
But here, the C63 price is
on par.
M5 price.
Yeah.
And
4-cylinder V8, 1 segment down versus 1 segment up.
Lenny drove it at the track. He said that, boy, that thing moves. Yeah, so, okay.
So what?
You buy a C63, I'll buy an M5. And I'll say I got a V8
twin turbo.
और तेरे पास क्या है?
F1 technology.
So all these things are also about little of that, talking, and we're having a beer with our friends and we're talking about cars, and all these things matter. End of the day, there's also a little bit of that Tashan thing going on. So anyway, that was M Town. I think that's all that we did. Yeah, and we had lots of coffee. They had burgers over there, which were half decent.
Were you wearing gas masks in Delhi?
It was not too bad.
Yeah.
Everybody, the Delhiites, they were saying that this is a great day. I think the AQI was some 350 or 400. The sun was out. They were like, sun is out. So it was actually a great day in Delhi. It was, when we did the podcast also, it was bright and sunny.
Unreal. 350 is great.
Yeah. Very unlike Delhi. They said that normally all their counters read up to 500, but actually it is some 800, 1000. So this was a good day. So deep breaths.
Very good. Cars were also breathing better.
Yeah. So that was a good fun day out at the BIC. Then obviously we went and checked out the Amaze, sat in the back of a couple of cabs. The thing is, after, I mentioned this last time also, after watching a crash test which we watched in Chennai at the BE and the XE, and after that to sit in these old Desires at the back, oh God, it's...
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not go there.
Okay. What's next?
Okay. Jag. I should have worn my pink t-shirt today.
Why?
The number of comments on that color.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you mind the color first?
I have no problem with the color.
Yeah,
I wear
same.
pink shirt. Who gives a fuck, man?
Correct.
Like let it be in pink. You don't have to buy it in pink. Buy it in black. Put gold wheels on it. Who cares?
Correct.
And that brings me to what I was thinking, that shape with a supercharged V8.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. That even be bitching.
Even to keep with the times, a hybridized V8.
The supercharged V8, which they already have in their portfolio. I don't know if they'll meet Euro 6, Euro 7, whatever emission. But anyway, just hypothetically, suppose they sorted that out. Okay. Put 2 gas masks on it. That, in that shape of the type.
Would have been phenomenal, no?
Oh, man.
Everyone would have been drooling.
It's just that the ad, that creative... all of that just went berserk. I read a tweet today. I don't know how far it is true, but it says that Tata Sons have summoned the Jaguar board to ask them that, bhai, kya chal raha hai?
Yeah.
So, and okay, one thing is there, the ad has worked because the whole world is talking about Jaguar.
Yeah, so BBC News, generic BBC News covering this.
Yeah.
Which is like, you never see a car launch
because
on
people
BBC
had forgotten
News.
about Jaguar.
Yeah.
They don't have any great products.
Yeah.
And naturally, they've just disappeared from everybody's imagination.
Correct.
Nobody, Jaguar koi dekhta bhi nahi hai, right? It's all Range Rover. Range Rover is bringing in the moolah, raking in the moolah, obviously the Defender also.
Yeah.
Jaguar, bhul gaya.
Yeah.
Okay. Now everybody talking about Jaguar. They've also revised their volume projections. They want to be closer to Bentley and not anybody else. So that's like 25,000 units annually. So a car like this, they're always that radical set. Who will buy it? And I have, it's divisive. It is really in your face. It is, some of the side angles are exhausting, and the whole imagery is just desperately look at me. But I have no problem with the design of the car.
Correct.
And I think it works.
Yes.
So I think good job.
Yeah. I think it's a nice car. I think at this point of time, what we need to do is tune out of the noise, which is the marketing around it and all
But
that.
that is the noise they have made.
Correct. But tune it out is what I'm saying. And focus on what they've done. As a car, it looks phenomenal. Now,
See, it's debatable, okay? Most of y'all watching this will probably disagree, and you are entitled to your opinion. Because what you like, might not like, and vice versa. So you're completely entitled to your opinion. All this comments on that's gay and gay, gay because Gaydon, and I think that's all unwarranted.
Correct.
That's and I'm not a politically correct types, and even I thought that was cringe. So that's unwarranted. But you're entitled to opinion. You don't have to buy it. You can buy a Range Rover, for instance. Buy whatever you want.
You remember when the car came out and I called you and I said, what the fuck have they done? And that's why I didn't put out anything on social media initially, because I was like, I want to sit with this. I don't want to speak too quickly because first impression, I was taken aback.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew I was expecting something radical because those teasers, that bloody box at the back that they had teased.
Yes.
You knew something mad was coming.
The AC grill.
Yeah. You knew that nothing normal was going to come out of this. So I sat with it. I was like, I'm not sure. But then I looked at it. And, it has traditional proportions that a car would nicely
Which strangely they're not talking about.
Yeah.
They don't want to connect with the E-Type.
Yeah.
Which is, it's baffling. Why wouldn't they?
Correct. You've got the long hood. Why you have a long hood in a car without an engine, I don't know.
Because there is space to put in an engine. And in 2 years' time, if nobody is buying electrics and if they only have the slot there for electrics, in fact, we should talk a little bit about Porsche. Remind me. But if they don't have space to put an combustion engine, and nobody's buying electrics, means all these millions and millions, probably billions that they put into it is all gone poof.
Yeah. So if an engine eventually down the line, because EVs aren't working, comes in there, Hail Mary.
Yeah.
But it is a phenomenal looking car in terms of its long hood, the sloping roof, the cab back design. And even the interiors, I don't know, obviously none of that's going to come into production with that.
Oh, no, I think that center spine can come into production. The deployable screens, can come into production.
I was reading somewhere that might be a problem in terms of safety regulation because you have vehicle extrication rules wherein...
Why? The BE has that central spine.
But it's not like... Maybe it's a height thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe they tone it down.
Yeah. But the BE has it, so why not?
Maybe.
Mahindra's done it already.
Yeah.
And they will get 5 stars because all their cars get 5-star crash ratings.
True.
The thing that I also want to point out is that if this comes with the electric powertrain, okay, which is what they're saying is going to be, okay, in the future, when you have only electric cars, the driving dynamics aren't going to be distinguishable from any car.
Yeah.
Because all will have sophisticated power delivery. All of them will be quick.
Yeah.
All of them will handle because low center of gravity. The suspension technology is also growing in leaps and bounds. The main differentiator is going to be styling.
Yeah.
So the cooler your car looks, or the more divisive your car looks, which BMW is conventional.
Correct.
The 5 Series is the most conventional, right?
And
the
M2
is divisive, right?
Yeah.
But it's cool.
Yeah.
The i7. Hey, actually, another thing that Vikram said, the i7 is the best, the 7 Series now. They're saying it outsells its rivals.
And it's very true because you see a lot of them and you don't see so many S-classes.
You notice the 7 Series / i7 because of that illuminated grille and you can't miss it for the world, right? So divisive styling is working.
Yeah.
So if Jaguar had gone the conventional route, which is what they've been doing all along.
Yeah, they've been trying to...
No hope in hell, right?
Yeah.
So again, the people who work there are smart. They're on the money. But the person who signed off on that creative...
Yeah.
Probably trolling themselves. Probably they knew this would be the thing.
Or
but
maybe
at least,
this was an intentional thing.
Yeah, that's what. Or at least they knew that this is going to happen. But they would be on the BBC.
Yeah.
So you can't say. Who knows?
It could be a big brain move that's...
Unless maybe in a month we hear that, okay, so-and-so is not there anymore and that's not... Then okay. So heads have rolled. But let's see. All the best to Jaguar. It's a car that's close to... Anyway, personally, it's a car that I'm close to because I got a little family backstory and all of that. So I'd love to see the brand come back. But obviously, brand will only survive on the basis of great cars.
True.
And this has to be well engineered and well sorted. And of course, it has to sort out JLR's reputation or otherwise for quality. Okay, the next electric car, the A6 e-tron. We've been teasing it for the past 2 podcasts. Finally, you can talk about it.
Yes, embargo's lifted, we can talk about it.
But before we talk about how it drives, question.
Yeah.
Now, when the A6 e-tron comes to India next year, it'll have to come next year. When? No idea. I think
first
mid
half,
of...
they said.
Yeah, so mid of next year.
Yeah.
What happens to the current A6 petrol? Does that also continue?
So, you know the new strategy for Audi.
Yeah.
Audi's going to...
Even electric or ICE.
True. Correct.
And no diesels in India.
No diesels in India. When the A6 e-tron comes next year, the current A6 should still be on sale.
So you will get an A6 in petrol.
And a different A6
in electric.
Okay. But the A6 globally is going to be replaced. You know, so through the year at some point, we're going to see an A6 replacement internationally unveiled.
Which will probably be called the A7 if it's petrol diesel.
Yes, it'll probably be called the A7.
Okay.
And that will eventually come to India the following year or whenever. You know, Audi has some, I mean, a car gets unveiled, then it goes on sale in Europe, then it comes to India.
Yeah.
So that will happen in time. So eventually you'll have A6 e-tron and A7 petrol, which is the same segment. But probably when this launches next year, you'll still have A6 petrol and A6 e-tron. You know, so there will be, obviously, across segments, there will be this transition time. And I'm guessing it'll happen for other cars as well. You know?
So it's similar to right now you have the Q8 in the V6 and you have the Q8 e-tron.
Exactly. And eventually you
so
might
it'll be
get
the same situation.
Q9. I don't know.
Yeah, you might get a Q9, which should, combustion. Yes.
Yeah. So you never know.
You never, it's all up a little bit in the air.
Correct.
And then you'll have what, a Q10?
Maybe.
Because you don't have a 3-row electric SUV from Audi.
Yeah.
The Q8 e-tron is like the range topper right now. So eventually you'll have to have like a EQS rival, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
EQS SUV rival. So a Q10.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, and it's all there in their product plan for the next couple of years.
Obviously,
we're just not
and
privy
being
to
German,
it.
they would all have everything and everything is cast in stone and everything's going to come. Whether people are buying electrics or not, those models have to be unveiled.
But surprisingly for the Germans, they've really messed around with these names a fair bit. You remember the e-tron came out, but then they made it Q8 e-tron. Mercedes had the EQS, then they had to have the EQS SUV, and there's a lot of confusion.
And now they are walking back from that whole EQ.
Exactly.
So the G-Class electric is not called the EQG.
Correct.
It's called the electric G. So because EQ, nobody seems to want an EQ. Even BMW, they did the iX.
Yeah.
Now they've got the i7 and i5. So iX is kind of like the in-between, neither here nor there. So it's all little bit...
Which is surprising from the Germans. You'd think they'd have this down, you know, and they've gone...
Again, nobody expected the kind of spike in interest in the electrics and followed by an equally harsh spike in the downwards direction. You know, so it's...
Okay, anyway, let's talk about what the cars like to drive.
Is it an E-Class rival?
It's not an E-Class rival.
Then what is it supposed to be?
It's going to be an i5 rival, like I said.
Okay, so it's an i5 rival?
It's kind of. And I'll tell you why, because the i5 in India is the mad M60 variant.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got a very fast i5. This is not going to be so there is internationally, there's going to be an S6 e-tron, which will be an i5 M60 rival. That's not coming to India, at least to start with.
So keep aside the power.
Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise
it's an i5 rival.
And is it as good as the i5? We love the i5.
We love the i5. It's very nice in many, typically Audi ways. You know, and...
Aatish, there's no embargo. You can say what you want to say.
I'm telling you what I'm going to say.
Okay.
It's, I'm not the greatest fan of the styling. I think the split headlamp thing is overdone.
Okay.
A lot of people like it, a lot of people don't like it. Very divisive. Again, like we were talking about Jag. Maybe that's the way forward.
But a lot of this Jatak lighting.
Lot of Jatak lighting.
Yeah.
You drove the Q6. You know about the...
You can change the patterns of the LEDs also.
So all of that stuff is there, which is cool trickery. You've got the interior with the big screens. They fixed that interior console with the screen low down. So everything's high up. Big interfaces.
Curved screens.
In fact, I'd say the interiors are just as nice, if not nicer, to use and sit in and interact with than an i5. The i5 screen is actually a little tricky to use because the icons are small and all of that. This is not like that, you know, very easy to use. And that augmented reality display we were talking about last 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but now it's on the XEV and the B, so that's hardly a talking point.
Correct. But it is very cool, you know, it's very, very nice. Is it as nice as the i5? I'm not convinced yet. Maybe we need to do a back-to-back because I drove the i5 in India and I fell in love with it. You know, it was really good in terms of its ride. It was really good in terms of its performance. The A6 e-tron that we drove was the less performance. I mean, of course, it's called the A6 e-tron Performance, but it doesn't have as much performance. And it's the rear-wheel
drive. It's not the all-wheel drive.
Exactly. It's not as much performance as the other variants. That's their range variant, what they call it. So it has a rear-wheel drive. So it's not as fast. And it's really hard to judge ride quality on these drives because the roads over there are phenomenal. There's not one speck of like unevenness in them. So you can say, okay, it rides very nicely at high speeds, but how it will deal with our conditions, very unique conditions, hard to say. You know, so it will.
But one thing going for Audi is that they've always done good ride comfort.
They have.
They haven't messed around with that. So if they stick with Audi form, that should not be a problem.
My concern with this is going to be ground clearance. I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
125 mm is the. It's not quoted in any of the press material, but one of the engineers quoted it to me.
Okay.
It does have optional air suspension. Okay, so now it's up to Audi to spec it on the India car so we can lift it and get a little bit of ground clearance.
But then the pricing?
That's the problem.
Yeah.
You know? So now that's the challenge that they're going to have to figure out positioning. What do you spec onto it? What do you not spec onto it? Do you put air suspension on? Do you not put air suspension? Do you put augmented reality? Do you not put augmented reality? So all of that's going to be a challenge. Why I said initially it's not an E-Class rival. The space in the back. Because the E-Class and the 5 Series have now gone long wheelbase, they are in another league in terms of space.
Okay. The i5? Compared to the i5?
Compared to the i5, it's comparable. Okay. But what I felt was a little better in the i5 was the under-thigh support.
Okay.
I think they've just figured out something to keep the floor and seat base a little... the height difference a little higher so that you're a little more comfortable. Sportback, I felt like if you're sitting with your head back, because of the Sportback roofline, headroom may be a little limited.
It's not a traditional sedan.
So you're sitting upright, it's okay. You know, you have a little room.
Will they have a traditional sedan?
I don't think so.
Okay, so it is going to be Sportback.
It's going to be Sportback.
Okay. What about China?
The China actually has a long wheelbase of this.
So...
That's not engineering itself for India, or at least maybe they've kept a hush-hush secret, which may...
Yeah, why couldn't they bring that to India? Because I know there's a Q6 long wheelbase also
and there's an A6
for China. So why don't they bring that to India?
Maybe cost...
E-Class, it was done for China, came to India.
5 Series.
5 Series was done for China, it came to India.
Correct.
So I don't see the cost also being that much of an issue.
Yeah.
So maybe it's time that Audi just jumped onto the long wheelbase bandwagon.
And I feel like if they do a long wheelbase of it, it could work. Because... there's no long wheelbase electric.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
All the electrics are short wheelbase.
Yes.
And internationally also, I'm not sure about BMW, if they have long wheelbase cars in China. But if Audi could have done a long wheelbase of this A6 e-tron and brought it here, that would have been something cool.
Yeah, so the first one that's coming is the Q6 e-tron.
Yeah.
And if they bring the Q6 e-tron long wheelbase, that will be pulling a rabbit out of the hat.
Correct.
Similar to what Mahindra has done in the mass premium segment.
Yes, absolutely.
That could be a game changer. And Audi, you know, with all the best intent in the world, I have to say they really need a game changer. The Q7, they've just launched you've driven it.
Yeah.
You are under embargo until the 15th of December with the Q7. But I don't know what embargo you're under because it is bang identical to the current Q7.
Yeah.
Apart from the headlamps and the more in-your-face grille and one size bigger wheels. So obviously the ride is going to be slightly stiffer than the outgoing Q7.
You've not driven it, so you can say that.
Yeah, I've not driven it, but I'm just conjecture. And it's obvious now. You go one size bigger on the wheel, you will have a slightly firmer ride. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
So...
yeah. I mean, it's a nice car, but it's not a game changer, is what my verdict on this is. And... yeah, if they can pull that rabbit, it'll be special. And it'll show that they're once again refocused on India and taking us seriously.
Yeah. And the problem is the group. The entire Volkswagen group. In Germany, Volkswagen themselves are going through tremendous amount of stress. They have to invest in India.
And they're under threat in Europe. So I think India is a deprioritized market. They're under threat in China. And that's a huge market for them.
Yeah.
So...
And I was recently talking to some industry stalwarts and they were saying that if the Mahindra BE and XE are so good, what does Mahindra actually need from Volkswagen? Apart from the capacity at their plant to make more Mahindras. Otherwise, Mahindra, what are they getting out of? They don't need Volkswagen's technology. Because their whole partnership for Volkswagen's skateboard architecture got delayed. Now they're using BYD blade cells.
Yeah.
And they're all the better for it.
Correct.
Yeah, there's no lack of performance or range and
those
lifetime warranty.
World-class cells, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, so it's a difficult place, and I think this is all carry over after Dieselgate, which there's still...
Yeah, that knee-jerk reaction to just go all electric and do all the software in-house. It went kaput, and then they had to go outside again to get their software done, and it's just been one gadgad after the other. And man, tough times. It's a company that we all admire. Volkswagen Group, what all they gave us, the Veyron, the Lamborghini in the current form is thanks to Volkswagen's investment.
Yeah.
Porsche is now ruling the roost at Volkswagen. It's
difficult times.
Yeah, tough times. The auto industry, it's not easy times especially for product planners, senior execs at car companies. What's going to happen 6 months later, 1 year later? Again, going back to my conversation with Vikram Pava, he said that no, don't reduce taxes. Okay, obviously he would like government to reduce taxes to rationalize it, but forget that. Just have consistent policy. Today, you have a central policy for EVs. Then the states keep flip-flopping. You have incentives, then you remove the incentives, and then the market for EVs in that state crashes. There just has to be long-term policy continuity. So then you can plan and you can do what needs to be done. Right now, it's all reacting to things, thinking about, after 1 year, what's going to happen. But it's, again, it's guesswork. It's very intelligent guesswork, very informed guesswork, but ultimately it is guesswork. So if you eliminate that guesswork angle, you can do so much more for the car industry in the country.
Definitely.
And as Mahindra have shown, you can make India also a global center of excellence, maybe not for ICE, though considering everywhere else they are moving away from ICE, India could be a global center of excellence for ICE as well. For motorcycles, we know how to do our small capacity engines.
And the world is coming to us now.
Yeah. So we can do the same for cars. Maybe the government needs to have a minister in charge, not for transportation, but for just the car and bike sector, whose only job is to look after the interests of it. Our manufacturing GDP, I think some 50% of manufacturing GDP comes from automobiles.
Really?
Yeah. So that's revenue earning. That's putting money back into the government coffers. Just make sure that things are happy for the players in the segment so that they can contribute more in terms of tax. And obviously, the government is putting up roads all over. So the infrastructure outside the cities is getting better. In the cities, hey Bhagwan, I really hope they do something. Though, as you see in Bombay now, with the coastal road, that South Bombay is actually great for an evening drive.
Yeah.
Though I read in the papers, people complaining about people driving racing cars on the road, which is just sour grapes, man. Come on, what racing cars on the road? Some few people have got loud exhaust. Live and let live. Where in Bombay are you keeping your windows open? Shut your windows, run your air conditioners, racing cars on the road. All you have to deal with these. There are people. It takes all kinds in this world. But that side of Bombay is nice for a drive. It's actually very nice for a drive. When we drive down to Bombay, now with the Atal Setu, then the Sea-Link, and all of that is great, man.
Correct.
Other cities we are in Pune, and unfortunately for us, we don't have light at the end of the tunnel. That tunnel is, oh my God, I don't know how many years we're going to be in that tunnel. But anyway, that's another rant for another day. So that's on the A6 e-tron.
Yes.
And finally, we have one more car to talk about.
We have the Nexon EV to talk about. But my rant is not so much about the Nexon EV.
We've driven the Nexon EV. Yeah. We've done Kashmir to Kanyakumari. Yeah. We've gone up to Umlingla. I've spent so much time in that Nexon. After that Kashmir to Kanyakumari, I think 96 hours I was in that. Yeah. My back was shaped like the Nexon seat. After that, I sat in, from the airport, somebody picked me up, and I think it was in a Grand Vitara or something. And that felt like a Rolls Royce, man. It was just, not that the seat is so great, but it's just a different seat shape, and my body was like...
Okay, so I had a lot of trouble actually on this drive. I was going to Bombay for the Dua Lipa concert and then for a friend's wedding. Okay. I had the Nexon EV with me. In fact, I picked it up from your house with slightly low charge. It was 27 or something. So I needed to top it up before I go to Bombay. So I took it to the Charge Zone charger next to my house at Marriott Suites, Koregaon Park. And you get there and you want to plug in and charge, which is fine. There was nobody there, which was great. But I had the app, but I hadn't used the app in a long time. So I downloaded the app. It had logged me out. No problem.
Log back in.
try to log back in, it asks you for an OTP. So I ask, request for the OTP, no OTP comes. I request again, no OTP comes. I do this 5-6 times until it says max attempts reached, and then it just stops allowing me to request for an OTP also. So I'm stuck there at this charger with no way to log into the app, with no way to charge the car without the app, and I was just waiting. So I tried calling support. Nobody picks up the phone. I WhatsApp. Nobody replies to WhatsApp until like the next evening when I get a WhatsApp message saying, please call this number. There's no point 25 hours later.
And this is Charge Zone.
This is Charge Zone. So,
which I thought was one of the nicer ones.
It doesn't matter. No, it may not have been Charge Zone's fault. Maybe it was the carrier's fault and OTPs were not coming through, whatever. But it was buggy, And finally, I took out my second phone and I was trying to figure things, download the app on my second phone. When one OTP came in, I put it in, I could log in, pay and charge.
So it took how long?
15 minutes just to figure out all of this. Then I had to plug it in and it took 1 hour whatever to charge. But see, you sign up for the long charging times when you buy an EV. But you don't sign up for this nonsense that goes on around it. I drive to Bombay, need to top up again.
This is not the long range version.
So this is the 40. The 40 kilowatt hour. There's a one below it, there's one above it.
Okay, so we are driving the mid-spec.
Yeah. Now I reach Bombay and I know I'm going to be doing a lot of driving in Bombay. Concerts in one corner, Airbnbs in one corner, the weddings in another corner. So I know I need to charge up. I go to the e-tron hub in BKC. That was seamless. That was Charge Zone. Thankfully, I'd already logged in the previous night. So I didn't have the same trouble again. Topped it up a little bit. Not a lot. I had some time to spare, so I topped it up as much as I could. I was on my way. The following day, I was at my Airbnb. I thought, okay, let me look for a charger around my Airbnb. I was in Kandivali East, very close to the Mahindra factory actually. Inside, along their factory wall, somewhere inside there.
Thakur Village.
Not Thakur, somewhere Lokhandwala they call it or something. No public charger around in Kandivali East.
Really? Yeah?
Nothing. If I had to go, I had to cross the highway, go to the west to find a public charger. I was like, okay, what the hell? I mean, I'm not going to go there, sit. It's not like I had too much free time also. It was a tight weekend. So I decided, let me go to a mall which is close to the church where the wedding is happening. I'll plug the car in and then I'll take a taxi to the church 5-10 minutes away, attend the wedding. By then it'll be done. I'll come back, take it out. Good plan. You account for 5 to 7 minutes to do this, get into the mall, charge, whatever. I go to the mall. First of all, it's some godforsaken mall, Reliance Mall in some corner of Borivali. There's no ramp to go into the basement. There's an elevator. To operate the elevator, there's an operator, but operator's parking somebody else's car, so I have to wait. Finally, he comes back up in the elevator, puts me in the elevator, doesn't come down with me, sends me down. Now, I can't open my door because the door's too close to the wall of the elevator and nobody's opening the door on the other side. So I'm stuck in the elevator at the bottom over here. I start honking. 5 minutes later, somebody comes, opens the elevator door. Then I get out, I go into the charging area and there are 2 cars already parked in the charging spots. Yeah. Still not a problem because there was a slow charger available. So I said, okay, fuck it, there's a slow charger. I'm going to be gone for a while. Let me just let me get whatever range I can out of it. Plug it into the slow charger, take out my phone. There's no range, 2 levels down in the basement. So again, I can't use the app. Okay. So then I said, okay, what the hell? I check for Wi-Fi. Usually when there's no range in the basements, they provide Wi-Fi. There was Jio Wi-Fi. This was a Jio BP charger, Reliance Mall. Jio Wi-Fi. Try to log into the Jio Wi-Fi. You need an OTP. So again, I'm stuck. Okay. Now I'm like, what the hell do I do? So I don't have Wi-Fi access. I don't have range. I'm in this basement. I'm like, God, now what? My friends are waiting up. So I told them to book a cab upstairs so we don't waste too much time. And the cab has come. Cab is waiting. Cab is harassing them saying, where are you? Where's this guy? Are we going to leave or not? And in the meantime, one Nexon EV charger who's charging on the fast charger strolled in. I said, can you give me a hotspot? He had Jio. I had Vodafone. Vodafone didn't have range. Jio had range underneath. So he hotspotted me and I finally managed to charge. Okay, so I plugged it in. I got in the cab. I reached the wedding. I've missed the part where my friend walks down the aisle. I've come from Pune for this and I missed the most important part. Can you imagine?
Man, I think after this podcast, there's going to be all EV hate over here.
No, but it's valid.
This is
like people throw around a lot of data saying chargers are there, chargers are not being used, underutilization. But anecdotal data shows that they are not convenient to use.
So, the takeaway for me is that make sure all your apps are working, number one. Okay. Number two, if you plug it in, don't leave until you're fully juiced up. Whether you have to sit for half an hour more
that's
or
inconvenient.
45. Yeah, but
My
it at least
question
prevents.
My question today when I go to fill fuel, I fill the fuel, I tap my card and I'm out. Why can't I do that with an EV? Why do I have to deal with this nonsense app? I need to have internet, I need to have OTP. Why can't I just go to a charger, plug it in, it shows up a receipt, I tap my card, it has its own internet connected to the...
I'll tell you why. Because they all want your data.
Exactly. And that's I mean, the
It's
amount
purely
of...
that. Because you can have, all point of sales have tap cards. Now, world over, nobody's doing this. It's all because they all want your data.
And the data is causing so much inconvenience to me as a user. Yeah. It just doesn't make me want to drive EVs. I have to go to Goa for a holiday. I don't want to take an EV because I don't want to deal with this headache every single day. I don't have a charger at home in Goa. So I'm going to have to rely on public chargers. My last charging session, which was on my way back to Pune, you check, I mean, you're driving to a charging spot, you shortlist one, which is close. I shortlisted one of the hotels in Vashi, which had a charger. When I left, there was nothing plugged in. By the time I reached, there were 2 cars plugged in. You know? So again, I had to wait. Thankfully, one guy was getting done. So I waited 5-10 minutes. Then I plugged in. Then I had lunch. Then I came back. But every single, 3 out of 4 times I charged on this trip, there was trouble.
Yeah. But I have to point out that these are not, you can't paint everybody with the same brush. I've been using EVs now for really long.
Yes.
Okay, I've been using the e-tron and more recently the iX.
Yeah.
I go to Bombay in the e-tron and the iX. i7, sorry. I had the iX before that also. But I never leave Pune without 100% charge.
I left with 100% charge.
Yeah, so I've never
Not
had this
everybody
problem.
has the means to afford an i7 with 700 kilometers of range.
That's true.
You know, some people are driving Tiagos EVs and Nexon EVs, and these are real problems they're going to face.
100%.
And
I'm with you on that.
It's not seamless. The problem is it's just not seamless. It's not easy. It's not stress-free. Every time I step out of the house saying I need to go to a charger, I have this shadow of doubt. Is there going to be somebody parked there? Is another car, which is not an EV, going to be parked in my parking spot? Is the charger working? Is my app going to work? Is the OTP going to come? You know, there's too many questions. If you go to a fuel pump, you know the guy is there. He's putting his fuel. You pay him cash. You pay him card. You get out of there. You're done.
Yep. So, real world usage case of a electric car tester.
Painful.
Yeah, so, whereas with me, I haven't had, but obviously it's also bases the car and what range you have and how you use it and all that.
And the charges you
both
go
sides
to.
of the coin.
Yeah.
So entertaining. Thank you for that, Aatish. How many more months are you using your EV?
I think another month and a half or 2 months.
You see, if you're living with a car, you have to take it on your holiday.
You
have to take it. Now there's no... Otherwise, you're being a fake.
Fake about what? I mean...
You are doing a living with it. And now you are living with it,
holiday from work, right?
Yeah, but still you're living with it. No, you're living, right? Yes. You're not taking a holiday from living. You have to take it. So you have a charger in Kolhapur. Our friends at Lion Charge have set up that high power charger.
But now you skip all of that, no? When you go from Manuskura.
Yeah, so Karad also will have a charger. I'm going tomorrow to Goa. I'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm taking the AMG. So
that actually, once what happened to me at the Karad charger.
What?
I rocked up there was the Ioniq 5 or the e-tron. I can't remember. I've taken both to Goa. We reached the charger. There's no car plugged in, but it's showing car charging. Okay. So I call the support and I'm like, listen, I can't plug my car in because it's saying car charging. He's like, yes, sir, there's a Nexon EV parked there. I'm like, no, there's no Nexon EV parked here.
But you're not the first person telling me that.
Oh, really?
Lots of people have that issue. Lots of people. And was there a Tata Power charger?
No, it was not Tata. It was Xeon, I think.
Yeah, but lots of people, I've had that. Lots of people have told me that.
And I'm telling him, bro, I'm standing at the charger.
So then they have to reset it. They take time to reset it.
No, he refused to reset it. He's saying there's a car parked there. Once he leaves, you can charge. I just told the shop guy, please just turn off your mains and turn it back on. It'll reset. So, but there's so much extra brain work you have to do to just power your car up.
On that note, are you using an EV? If you are, what are your use case scenarios? How have you used it? What problems have you faced? What have been the advantages? An advantage obviously is that it costs next to nothing. Yeah. Even 100%. If you use public chargers.
It's very cheap.
Very cheap. So you do save a lot of money.
I'm happy to pay for the petrol and avoid all of this.
But you do have a lot of headaches. Have you used an EV? Have you had headaches? We'd love to hear. Drop it in the comments. And we'll see you next week.
See you next time.
What are we driving next week?
Amaze.
okay, might be on embargo, but finally I'm going to get my hands on the BYD Seal and the E-Max 7. That's what they call it, right? E-Max 7. I haven't driven the Seal. We've been asking them for very long, but now ICOTY jury round is coming.
So they have to send
So now it's finally going to come. I've seen a few Seals on the road. Let's see how the Seal drives. And we also asked, I've not driven the EV9 or the Carnival, so I'm looking forward to try it.
EV9, I don't know who's driven.
Oh, you also haven't
I've
driven?
not driven.
Okay, so I'm looking forward to driving those two. And we'll see you next week. Thank you for listening and watching the Thrill of Driving podcast. And if you have any more comments, please drop it in the comments section below.